My name is Bing. I'm the translator of the Tale of Kiều, and I am here to basically like segue into our big speaker for today, which is Professor. Professor, but maybe not in Vietnam, but like she goes by Dr. Bùi Trân Phượng, and she's like a historian person. And the reason why I organized this meeting is because like I myself worked on the Tale of Guild for like 5 years to get this shit done and investigate the cultural context of it and all that. But there's something that I don't think I can like accurately capture, which is like the historical context and like the analysis behind all of that. So I know that I know this person, and so I'm bringing. Oh, there she
Oh,
is. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Fung. I'm a historian, and I'm working on women, Vietnamese women.
And for those of you who don't live in Vietnam, like uh, our speaker here, she has also done like a lot of like public outreach to talk about the Tale of Gil and like basically she tries to have like she has like would you call them workshops or like talks or something like that to basically talk about discuss excerpts from the Tale of Kyo and like with the youth basically. And it's a regular thing that she does in Vietnam. So like, like she is also an example of the Tale of like somebody who works on the Tale of Kyo and also analyzes it and basically spreads it to the youth daily. So it's a very living text. And yeah, so I think that now that we have all of like we have everybody here, should we start?
Mhm. I
Yeah.
just would like to show Vietnamese history and Vietnamese culture history by this tree. If
Okay.
you
Yeah.
do next, you do next and next. Yeah. If I put on this tree is like time. Time.
Right.
We used to see time as an arrow, and the arrowhead is the future, and
Right.
the opposite the past. The middle, the present, it is in the middle. We just put this arrow vertically, and we see this tree. And on the left, I put all of the political events, what children are studying at school. But in the right side, I put beliefs, religions, and so on. So what you are seeing is the history people know. People know the left side more than the right side, right? Uh, and people don't know the roots, the invisible roots. If you put next again, you will see the roots. The roots is what I call Southeast Asian culture. And when people talk about Vietnamese culture, people always think people in Vietnam and people outside of Vietnam. Many people think Confucianism, but Confucianism is what I am showing here. The monopoly of some Confucianism is just from middle of 15 to middle of 19, something a little bit more than 4 centuries. 4 centuries is very big, very long, but it is not the whole history of Vietnam. The whole history is more than 2,000 years, right? Uh, Very well known, 2,000 years. So more than 400 over 2,000 years, it is a lot, but not the whole history. I just want to show that Confucianism is a part of our history, a layer, and not the whole. And in the whole, in the reality, it is not like that. It is just a picture. In the reality, it is not stage by stage. It is the whole, uh, many things together, right? So Confucianism, Truyện Kiều, the Tale of Kiều of Nguyễn Du, it is in the end of 18, the beginning of 19, something like that. So it is still the monopoly of the song Confucianism. But all of the other things are within this society and not outside. So when we see next, you do next, please. And at the roots, we have when you see the society, Nguyễn Yu is describing in Truyện Kiều, it is his society. You call it medieval, but for me, it is the last part of medieval. And at the time, you have civil war for 3 centuries, many dynasties to against one another. You see, and at the same time, you see an expansion, southward expansion. You see the promotion of internal and external commerce, trade ports to Western countries, so on. And you see particularly rising income and growing economic social inequality. And in this context, there is the formation of a dynamic, cunning, and powerful merchant class, commercial class, rivalizing and sometimes even surpassing the old elite of Confucian scholars. And as a consequence of all that, a clear reveal of individual roles and initiative, individuals. And it is the reason why I would call this period pre-modern rather than medieval. It is my first idea about the context, the social context of Truyện Kiều.
Right. Yeah.
And when you read Truyện Kiều, you see the characteristics of this period. For example, you see next, please.
Do you see the slide change?
Yeah. You see, for example, the dominance of money. Here are all verses from Truyện Kiều, and they become now something like proverbs, something like folk songs. Everyone quote these lines, and even they forget that it comes from Truyện Kiều. They think that they are popular folk songs and proverbs and so on. So money, the power, money, very, very powerful, right? All those lines are from Truyện Kiều. Next, please. And you see a society where there are lot of violence and deceit, violence in all forms everywhere. You see people you see buying, selling, regiming people everywhere. Not only Truyện Kiều, many people like that. And you see a brother owner like Bạc Bà, who pretended to be a Buddhist, deceiving the head monk Giác Duyên. Giác Duyên didn't know that she was a brother owner. And you see the wife and daughter of the minister, Lady Huan, and her mother, ordered the servants to burn down people's house, to kidnap women, to beat them, to force them into servitude. You see a chief like Từ Hải order his troops to round up so his beloved wife could exact personal revenge. And you see his lady Thủy Kiều tortured people, many people. It is just violence, violence, and violence. And even a grand official like Hồ Tôn Hiến, in the translation, you call it him viceroy, resorted to despicable tactics. And for me, it is the society of Nguyễn Yu, and this society is closer to our society right now than, for example, to society in 13th or 15th century. So it is my first idea about violence and about the context, the social context of Truyện Kiều. And in this context, morality, Confucianism, next please, ethical principles from Confucianism lose their meaning. These lines, those lines from Truyện Kiều talk about Kiều, but also about anyone, male or female.
I can also just read the translation for people
Yeah,
who want to
yeah.
hear. Yeah. Oh, what a pity, human flesh no less. Why carry charm and talent? Such distress. With copious pain and wrong and separation, what's left of flesh when life's at termination? In 15 years, so many times was she a mirror for the scarlet dressed to see. Such is a human life, such are its laws. So
Next.
yeah, that's I think that I'm not to toot my own horn and praise my translation, but I think like we can really see the what we're talking about here, like the basically ethical principles of like of like you know of the society at the time being lost and people just being sucked into these like cycles of violence and like the author himself inserts himself to ask like what's left of flesh when life's at termination, when people have had to suffer so much. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And
anyways,
especially people who are virtuous, who are talented.
yeah,
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 yeah. Next, please.
and
Next.
yeah.
And here the first one is the author's lament when Kiều takes her own life, and the second one was Giác Duyên question, Thu Tam Hợp Đạo Cô. So many people in Vietnam, even right now, can think like those lines about realities in society. It is one of the reasons making Truyện Kiều so popular in Vietnam.
Right. It's because, yeah, I can also chime in here as well, but like the reason why the Tale of Kiều is so beloved is, firstly, it has, like I said in a previous talk that we did, is that like it uses the qualities of Vietnamese, like it doesn't specify like pronouns or whatever, and so people just insert the situation and like insert the poem in every situation they can. And secondly, it's exactly what we're saying here, like the chaoticness of society at the time
Yeah.
is more similar to our society than it was to like the 15th century when there were like the early Lei dynasty and the earlier part of the Lei dynasty with Nguyễn Trãi and all the other guys. Like their society is not shaped by money and by this kind of like
No, no.
cycles of violence, and that's why maybe like a reader from back then would find it less relatable than we would, because we're
Yeah,
living in like a society
yeah,
that's kind of structured in a similar way. And yeah, so I think this is a good point to kind of pause on the discussion of like society and all that. And for now, like, because right now we're gonna and later we're gonna talk about how this has like an effect on like the characters, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So oh yeah,
yeah.
so I think that now we come in, we have like like I know like a frontal view of how society was at the time, with like a lot of violence and deceit and this kind of like the loss of ethical principles. And it's also around this time with the rise of the merchant class and basically like it also affects the way that the individual sees themselves in society. And this in tandem with like the elevated role of women under Confucianism has led to like later on, like around Wen Zu's lifetime, quite a few like women writers popping up. And I was gonna do like a deep dive into them before, but I think that we'll just name them, like people like Đoàn, Điểm, who greatly inspired the text of the Tale of Kiều itself, and
Mhm.
who was one of Winslow's contemporaries, and allegedly somebody like his lover. I don't know. There's some rumors, but we don't know for sure. And there's also Lê Ngọc Hân, who was a princess with the Tây Sơn rebels, and she also wrote like a lot of poems about like losing her husband and basically something like that. And that's just on the literary side of the world. Like on the other, and we're not talking about politics where there's, for example, like people like Bùi Xuân, who's like a general in among the rebel forces. And believe it or not, that's my poster of her. I have a poster of her. But so these are very iconic figures, like women who rise at this very specific point in time. That's the culmination of all of these societal changes. And and so that's my like little addition to all of this, is that we see all of these figures arising, and they have an influence on the literature at the time, which is then reflected in the Tale of Kiều itself. And so now we're going to go like take a deep dive into like what exactly is it like to like the gender politics at the time, and how does Nguyễn Du portray them in his characterization. Okay, so do you want to talk about the agency
Yeah,
thingy, or?
because many people think that because Nguyễn Du is before the revolution, before the modern time, he always talk about fate, about destiny, about something. But
Right.
if you read Truyện Kiều, really read, you will see that the character Thúy Kiều has more agency than people can think. I heard, for example, once I heard in a symposium organized by a Goethe Institute in Hanoi, a young Vietnamese feminist in Vietnam, saying that she hates the Tale of Kiều because her father loved it so much, and her father was so patriarchal, and it is a reason why she hates Truyện Kiều, and she hates Thúy Kiều because she was someone with the four virtues of Confucian morality. It made me laugh because the four virtues in Thúy Kiều, it is so difficult to find out. So when you read Truyện Kiều, I see this woman. I see in this woman a very big autonomy, and I would like to show some examples of her agency.
Right.
First one, first one. Next.
Right. So yeah. So for some context, I think we're now comparing the the Tale of Kiều to the original Chinese novel, the Jin Jun Tiao.
Yeah.
So the prose is from the Jin Jun Tiao, and the lines are from the Tale of Kiều.
Yeah. If you see in the original, text, you see that it was Kim Trọng, the man who grabbed the iron rod and who struck and who make the who took the initiative to make a hole and to rush out over the hole and to embrace Thúy Kiều. But in you, it was exactly the opposite. It was Thúy Kiều who, because in the Vietnamese version, you cannot see explicitly the subject of the sentence, but it was very clear. If you translate to English, you see immediately the action was from Thúy Kiều. The previous line and this line, băng lỗ đường khuya, it was Thúy Kiều who did it. Who did so. Right.
And for like an even more apples and apples comparison, like this scene, like the scene where he breaks down that when basically the scene is that there's Kim Trọng moves into the house next door so he could be next to Thúy Kiều, and Thúy Kiều is kind of shy. She's like, oh no, this man just moved next door. What do I do? That's what she is in the Chinese version. And then in the Vietnamese version, she's like, okay, I'm gonna go look for a hole in the wall, and I'm gonna roll up my sleeves. I'm gonna break down the hidden door to go through and be with him. So like
Mhm.
she, like she is very much taking the initiative here, as compared
Mhm.
to, I think I'm just gonna call the characters by their Chinese name, like Gui Chao, and I don't really know Mandarin, but like Gui Chao, the version, like the Chinese version of Tale of Kiều, she waited, while her lover basically, broke down the wall and did all the kind of stuff, and he came over and he swooped her, literally,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
very, like, that's why I say that it's like a very mediocre romance. It's like the
Mhm.
woman is like very submissive, she's like waiting for
Passive,
him,
passive.
and
Yeah,
yeah, passive, yeah,
yeah.
whereas the man does everything. And
Mhm.
even in the Tale of Gyo, while Gyo is doing this, Kim Chao is on the other side waiting for her.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's a reversal of roles.
yeah. Exactly. Mm.
So yeah, I think I wanted to add that to it, because I feel like the distinction, like the waiting, who's the person doing the waiting, is very,
Yeah, yeah. Sure. Mm. Next, please.
yeah, okay,
Second example.
yeah,
Yeah. I would like to see remark that if there is so much agency from the young woman, it is also because of the environment, the familial environment and social environment. Thúy Kiều was going out to see her lover. It was something her parents didn't know, but just after she uh, told told this story to her sister, her parents know very lately. But when they just say that what she wanted her sister to do is to replace her in her love, because she couldn't. So her parents say that they will obey what her wish. They will accomplish her wish. It is completely a very big tolerance from the parents and from the society. And I can, and if you see other Vietnamese tales like Truyện Kiều, like for example Lục Vân Tin, or in folk song, you see the same tolerance. It is not what people imagine about traditional Vietnamese society. And the second quote the same. Thúy Kiều said that had I known, and so on. So she explicitly say what she was thinking.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, and it was so human to think like her, so human to think like her. And I think that many people like those lines because of the sincerity.
yeah, like I when I was reading it, I was like, wait, hold on. So and I compared it to the Chinese version, and there's none of that sentiment.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
she's like, in the Chinese version, she's just like, oh, I guess that's my fate now. I'll accept it. But for Gil, it's like, shit, I
yeah.
should have slept with him. Like,
If if I know that, yeah,
yeah, yeah. If I'd known that we'd be so messed up, I should have slept with him. Like, it's a very, I don't know, it's a very young feeling for me.
mhm,
It's a very human and a very young
yeah,
feeling, like kind of regret.
mhm,
And it's just
mhm,
absolutely original. And
mhm,
yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, I try my best to get this line right, because I'm like, this is a very fun line.
um, yeah, it is about Thúy Kiều and Sở Khanh.
Right.
When you can explain this one.
Okay. Yeah. So so we're actually gonna have a talk in London about this excerpt, but like in like later times. But the whole gist of it is that when she was already brought to the brothel, she was expected to serve, and she was like, no, I'm not gonna like have sex with anyone. and the procuress, that the hack, called the hack here, she just started threatening to beat her, and so Kiều attempted suicide. And then when she woke up from the suicide, like the hack decided to have like a like kind of soft power her way into Kiều life by having her like sending over this man, this like clean shaven, like well dressed man named Sở Khanh. And his mission was to kind of woo her and be like, hey, young lady, like you're so beautiful, why are you in this brothel, why are you in this dirty place, come here with me, like flee with me. and and so that's what everybody, that's what she thought. Like she, in the Chinese version, okay, so in the Chinese version, when this young guy came, like youngish guy came to, woo her and be like, hey, let's get out of here with me, we can have a life together, she just believed him fully. She just believed him, and she was like, I am gonna run away with this man and this kind and this and that. And he arranged a meeting with her on like using coded messages. And when she uncoded it, she realized that it was someday, and then she waited till that day, and on that day he was supposed to take her away. But no, instead he came over and he kind of like, and they had sex. And it wasn't until the following night that he came back, that he actually took her away. And on the way out of the brothel, in the middle of the night, the 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 protagonist was like, oh my god, like I don't know where I'm going, but like I already slept with this man, like there's no way he would betray me. And then he betrayed her. Whereas, and that's the Chinese original.
Mm.
But in the Tale of Kiều, what happened was that Kiều was basically like, the moment Sở Khanh started saying anything, he started yapping outside the door. She was like, that sounds kind of suspicious, but she doesn't really trust him. She closed the door on him. And but like she thought about it over again, and she was like, you know what? Maybe let's try it out. Like I don't trust this guy, but like maybe let's
Mhm.
try it out
Mhm.
and see where it's going. And this
Yeah,
is this excerpt this excerpt, she took the risk. Like she
yeah,
took the risk, sent out some words alone. So she knew the risk. She knew that this is a very suspicious man. Like but still, she wants to see where she could go, and she wants to get out of here. So that the motivation is very much more complicated.
yeah,
And yeah, like when he was leading her down the staircase to flee the building, she thought in her mind, like, you know, the way he spoke imbued her mind with doubt. Yet
yeah,
this was
yeah.
urgent. How could she back out? Better to shut these eyes and move these feet. Let's witness what that maker child, like referring to heaven, can set.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It was just because she was in a desperate situation,
yeah,
and yeah, she just needs this person to fly away.
yeah,
Yeah, just
exactly.
yeah, just that.
She, she saw
Next,
him, yeah, she saw him as a means of escape. Nothing,
yeah.
like she didn't give her body to him, she didn't
Mm.
consent to anything. Yeah. And now this.
Yeah, it is the final period when she met with her family again after 15 years, and she tried many times to convince Kim Jong to follow her decision. Uh, it was very difficult to convince him. She tried it for 3 times. First time
Yeah.
it was in the small pagoda of Yak Yun. Second time it was in the familial feast when Thuy asked her, proposed her to be reunified with Kim. And the
Right.
last time, third time, it was in the wedding night when she was alone face to Kim. And she talked to him earnestly in a long speech. And here is this long speech, a part of this long speech.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, with very strong lines. For example, that's love no longer purely enmity. Very strong. With this long speech, she succeeded to convince Kim Jong. And in next slide, you will see, please, next slide. You will see the first one, the first quote was where the answer of Kim Jong when firstly she refused. Kim Jong said her chastity can come in various ways. It is very strange for a Confucian scholar to say it. Yeah, it is just the opposite of Confucian morality. Various way, just a little bit, so on. But Tale of Kiều was finally succeed to convince Kim Jong when Kim Jong answered in this one from this one. Now that we've met, gặp nhau còn chút bấy nhiêu là tình. So she was very thankful when he said, for bronze and stone, not for debauchery. And we need no beds or pillows to be spoused. And with this sentence, Kim Jong is following her decision. And for me, it was a very meaningful exchange between the two lovers.
Yeah, and comparatively, like this scene when, you know, at the end of the book, when she comes home and she's finally reunited, and her people, you know, people are like, yeah, you should get married to your lover again. And she's like, I am, you know, I have been tainted, I've been this, I don't like, and in the Chinese version, like it's framed as like, oh, she has done so many wrongs to her body, she has betrayed so many people, she doesn't feel like she deserves it, and she's not like moral enough. Whereas in the Vietnamese version, there's like a very poignant like theme of trauma. She's like, I have been through so many things. Why do you keep pressing me? Why do you keep pushing me till I have sex with you? Like, why do you do this, that? And even in the Chinese version, like she was basically kind of coerced into bed, and the guy was about to, her lover was about to take her clothes off, and then she was like, no, and then he was like, you know, the women he called it something like that, like the virtuous women,
virtuous
society also have sex, why don't you? Like, and she starts explaining to him. Whereas in the Vietnamese version, like basically they're in their bedroom together, and she's like, by the way, I don't like this, and then Kim Jong was just listening to her the whole time. And there's, I think for me, oh, are you saying something?
Yeah, I think that Tale of Kiều succeed to explain him that she is suffering, and she will suffer so much if she has to to have sex with him. She will suffer, and it is the reason why Kim Jong understand her and follow her decision.
And I think that a lot can also be said about how the author reframes the scene, rewrites the scene, so that has way more ground to say things, and Kim Jong just sits there and listens. Because in the Chinese version, like, he was about to take her clothes off, and in this version, he just sits there.
To listen to her long speech. To listen to her explain how she was suffering, how she would suffer more if she have to do sex with him. So he really understand her, and it is a reason why. If you please, the next slide, please. When Tale of Kiều said that this murky body is made clear again because you understand me. You understand me. In the translation is knowing that well, is truly knowing well. But the Vietnamese word is tương tri, mean mutual in understanding. So
Yeah.
you understand me, and we mutually understand each other. So it is very strong to describe a love
Yeah.
after so much suffering. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, yeah, for me, like I can't translate Tương Chi into English. There's no equivalent. Like, so that's why I use
Yeah,
no
yeah,
in.
I understand because of the poetry. You
Yeah.
you have to take in account the poetry. So
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I
But
think, and that's
the idea
yeah,
is mutual in understanding. Yeah.
yeah, and that's how the story ended, with mutual
Hmm.
understanding, and and Kim Chong could have her sister as a wife, and for her,
Hmm.
like, she is a wife, yeah, but they're
More
not
of it. Yeah.
platonic. Yeah,
More of
they're platonic. Yeah, and it's a and the author treats it as a very happy ending for them, because she,
Mhm. Mhm.
I think that I've seen a lot of discussion where people are like, why does the author frame it as a happy ending? Because Kim Chong doesn't get what he wants. But I'm like, does it matter? Like, does it matter that he doesn't have in the end, like, he doesn't get in the end to have sex with her? Because he
Yeah.
respects her and he knows her enough to
Mhm.
not want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she
Sure.
feels, satisfied, like, that he
Hmm.
understands.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
is that not what we want out of a relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. Is this the last slide?
Hmm.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah,
And maybe
so
when you can say a little bit about your idea of it was the not only the story of one woman, it was the
right,
suffering,
right. Yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
womanhood. Yeah.
right. So I was also going to add some notes to that, which is that we, at the end of the story, we have this whole, like, life, like 15 years of this woman's life laid out
Mm,
to us. And then we're supposed, and the author concludes it by saying that, like, this is a story and this is all of that. And he has some messaging about, like, fate and the way that heaven deals or treats the talented. And it's supposed to be a universal message. It's supposed to be a universal message that talks about how, like, people suffer under these circumstances and all that. And for me, the reason why I want to bring it up is because the story through that ending thing is expanded to be like a universal story.
yeah.
And it's and but it doesn't have to be by the end for us to be like, oh, actually it's the story of everyone. Because in the poem itself, the author has previously inserted quite a few, like, when the narrator is telling the story and then he breaks down, it's like, oh my god, this is so bad, the world is so bad. Winzu does that all the time. And
Mm,
sometimes he inserts that into the mouth of Gil. So there's one line when in the beginning, actually, when Gil was basically standing at the grave of a songstress, Dat Tien, and she was listening to her brother relate the life of Dat Tien and be like, yeah, this girl, like, gone through everything. She's she died young and this kind of that, nothing of that. And Kiều lamented, đau đớn thay phận đàn bà. Ờ, lời rằng bạc mệnh cũng là lời chung, right? Is that what it
mm,
was? Yeah, but
mm,
yeah, lời rằng bạc mệnh cũng là lời
yeah.
chung. Yeah. So
Mm,
basically, in my translation, I said that it's like, uh, what uh, what is it? Fuck. What's suffering a woman's destiny? That fragile fate seems our consistency. And
mm,
what she's saying here is that, like, from the story of the anecdotal story of that Bien, she extrapolates and be like, it's like, yeah, it's so bad, like, women have it so bad. But see, it gets even deeper, because the line đau đớn thay phận đàn bà, what's suffering a woman's destiny, actually came from a previous
yeah.
poem by
Yeah.
Wen Zun.
Another. Yeah.
Yeah,
Another
where
point.
he is a narrator, he is a speaker, he laments the fate of sex workers who were neglected by society. And so
Mm,
that was his lament. Đau đớn thay phận đàn bà was his lament, his own words. He
mm,
reused that
mm,
for protagonist.
mm.
So, like, you see how much authorial intent is behind that. Like
Yeah.
it it by referencing his own poem where he speaks about this at length. He's
Mm.
literally presenting this as like a thesis. He's like, he presents this message through the protagonist's mouth, and it becomes the message that sets the tone for the whole poem. And then that's just one example. My other example that I would mention is that earlier when we were talking about Lady Huang, the lady who basically kidnapped Kiều and used Kiều to like psychologically torture her husband because he cheated on her with Kiều. So so Lady Huang like did a lot of psychological torture to Kiều. But in the so that's what happened in the Chinese novel. When our protagonist had the chance to rewrite her wrongs, basically, she caught everybody up and she had Lady Huang beaten like almost to death. Like she had Lady Huang almost beaten to death to the point that Lady Huang's mother saw that and had a heart attack and died. Like
Then die. Yeah.
violent, very, very violent. But in the Tale of Kiều, actually, in the Tale of Kiều, Kiều just caught up Lady Huang, asked, to be trialed, and Lady Huang was like shivering, and Lady Huang was like, I kind of loved you back then. I didn't chase after you, and can you please forgive me? And Kiều was like, yeah, I'll forgive you. Like I understand where you are. I understand your situation as a wife, and I have no. I find you talented as well, and I respect you, and I will let you go. Like there's just so much like to say about that, from almost like from beating someone almost to death and also inadvertently killing her mother to just telling her, like giving her like a small speech and letting her go. I think that's like, I think that rewriting of the poem itself says a lot about how Nguyễn sees like the suffering of women and that kind of stuff in the society at the time. Like he sees that like Hoàng Thư, like Lady Huang, at the end of the day suffers from the patriarchal system that he is also suffering from.
Yeah. And if you look very carefully, you will see that even Thuy or other women in the Truyện Kiều are suffering women also. Yeah. It is more discreet, but it is like that. Yeah. You can see that every woman was suffering.
Yeah, probably except for Giác Duyên, who's like the monk.
Yeah, Giác Duyên. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so I think that's a good way to wrap up our discussion, I guess. Like, because I think we went over this, like we've speed run over this text, and now we open up the floor to discussion for people if they want to talk. That's our thesis, and now you can feel free to chime in.
Yeah, thank you, Vinh.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for delivering such an amazing speech in concert as well. And this is, I guess, a unique opportunity to have two such distinguished minds on Kiều. So yes, please, any questions you have? Oh yes, Feria, if you want to unmute yourself, or if you want to put in the chat.
Would you please stop sharing for me to see people?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my God, sorry. Sorry.
I would like to apologize because it's 11 p.m. here in Seoul, so you won't see much of me at this time.
It's fine.
Cool. I actually finished reading the book yesterday, and actually Wednesday, or was it Tuesday? I don't even remember anymore. It was just, I just sailed through it, and I really, really enjoyed the footnotes and the introduction. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you for this, because it just gave me another perspective on the book, and I need to reread it again to try and glean the little insights that you gave us, and just go back and try to find them in the book. I have not read much Vietnamese literature, so this was a really insightful. I don't even know how to call this. Is it a webinar?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is how.
and
Yeah,
thank you so much for the tree that you presented at the beginning. It was really interesting to put that in context, because my knowledge of Vietnamese history really is limited to from French colonization and up, because I'm from Algeria, and when we study about Vietnam, we usually study it in that context. So thank you very much. And I'm gonna leave someone else to talk.
thank you for your.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
This. Yeah, I'm really happy that the footnotes helped because more like the endnotes, I guess. Because for me, like, I feel like when we do publishing, like a lot of the footnotes are not included in translation for some reason, like Western standards and all that. We can talk about that, but like for me, like this is necessary. We need to understand like the full context of it if you want to immerse yourself with the literature. So I made a point to be like, I'm gonna put a fucking endnote on everything that I find necessary. And I'm gonna do comparative literature, I'm gonna do this and that, like nothing is gonna stop me. So I'm glad that people like took the time to read it because it was a lot of work. I had to learn like a whole new language, like classical Chinese, to make sure that I was understanding the Jin Yun Jiao, the original, correctly. So oh my god, yeah. We don't really have many publishers that are friendly to endnotes and footnotes, but yeah. Anyways, anybody else have questions?
Yes,
Sorry about that.
please.
Thanks again for the talk. That was very interesting. Apologies, I actually do not have a webcam, so I can't turn it on for people to see. So I've got just a quick question. So after all the analysis on Kiel's agency and how the fact that she's actually not a very submissive or passive woman at all, and then it comes to Nguyễn Du's laments that this fate of ours, this fragile fate of ours, is actually a common fate of women. Would we say that Kiel is actually an extraordinary woman of the time, or is she actually a typical woman and is representative of the women's lives in the area? Thank you.
Yeah, I will let Dr. Bùi Trân Phượng respond to that.
Yeah, I think that at least in my opinion, she is not at all an exception. If you look at in one side, if you look at many other female scholars like Bình talk a little bit about them, Đoàn, Điểm, Xuân, Hương, and other women, and we can find out many other women in Vietnamese history who were really mistress of their life. Who decide what they want to do, how they want to live, and so on. And in one side, you can see many examples in history during centuries in different contexts. But in the long history, you can see many women like that. And in the other side, you can see other women in literature, in folk song, in the real life of popular classes. You can see this attitude like that. I happen to talk about, for example, love in folk song, and you can quote many folk songs where you have people behaving like Kiều in love, in marriage, in many things, and in life. Phrase to and just an example, because I think you are Vietnamese, so you know, for example, that đảm đang is a female quality par excellence in Vietnam, in Vietnamese culture, right? But what does it mean? What does it mean, đảm đang? Etymologically, what does it mean? Đảm means to take a responsibility. For example, đảm nhiệm, for example, đảm trách. So đảm means to take a responsibility, right? And đang, what does it mean? It means to face a problem. Đang or đương, to face a problem. and a quote that everyone knows in Vietnam, Bà Triệu, Triệu Thị Trinh, in the 3rd century, when the Chinese soldiers talk about her, hoành qua đương hổ dị. It means if you take an arm and you are faced to a tiger. Đương hổ, hoành qua đương hổ is you face a tiger. Đương, it is this word đàm. Đương. It is easier to face a tiger without attacking it, and it is more difficult to face this lady, right? About Đam Triệu, about Lady Triệu, right? So đảm đang, it was the female quality for excellence in Vietnamese culture. Is it strange or not? It is not so common to see other people look at women like that, right? And it is because of the influence, let's say the negative influence of Confucianism, that this word etymologically very very autonomous, very strong agency, become now in common understanding to do everything for other people.
Especially housework, probably.
Yeah. But etymologically, it is like that. And I can quote many folk songs where you can see women đảm đang in the true signification, in the true meaning of the word. Like, right? And in wars and after wars, in difficult situations, when Vietnamese women are said to be đảm đang, it means they can take responsibility and they can face the problem by themselves. So for me, Thúy Kiều is not at all an exception. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's fascinating, actually, especially with the where the word came from and what they used to mean. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, because a little addendum, because we were talking about Đoàn Thị Điểm, right? And because I am my passion project for now is translating her Truyền Kỳ Tân Phả.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Truyền Kỳ Tân Phả, like the Chinese, like classical Chinese.
Truyền Kỳ Tân Phả, yeah.
And exactly. And you know, she wrote like a whole ass short story collection about women, basically all about women, and she is like basically the women in. If you look at Truyền Kỳ Tân Phả, if you look at the characters in it, the female protagonists in it, you're like, they're kind of like Thúy Kiều in a lot of ways. Maybe they're not, they don't end up in like brothels, but they take the responsibility. And Đoàn Thị Điểm, let me remind you, was before Nguyễn Du, like just a few decades before. It's like us and I don't know, Frantz Fanon, like that's how close they are to each other. And Đoàn Thị Điểm herself was based on her biography told by her family and all that, was also somebody from a very humble background who was also like a rural woman who didn't have access to education, like Hồ Xuân Hương, who was born in the capital. Like Đoàn Thị Điểm was from Hưng Yên, like a rural province, and she was raised in a family that I think it's interesting to talk about because she had a brother. She had a brother who went to school, took the exams, and he passed, but he didn't go into civil service. He stayed in Hưng Yên to teach people, while his younger brother, wanted to pursue, education more seriously, and he encouraged her to do that. And when she first published Truyền Kỳ Tân Phả, the short story collection, it was customary at the time to have, like, when you publish something, you have commentaries. When you publish like your short story, you need to have somebody like peer review, like a commentary at the end, like, okay, this story is about this and that. And for her, she was a rural woman. She didn't have access to, she didn't know anybody famous who could basically she was looking for people to write blurbs for her, but she didn't have anybody who could do that for her. So her brother was like, let me do it. I have education, I have qualifications, let me do it. And so he decided to be her commentator. And in the first edition, which is still in the National Library of Vietnam to this day, published in like 1811, we have basically that whole situation. Like we have like Đoàn Thị Điểm writing the short stories, and there is her brother commenting on it. And from her life, we can also see that like how much her life influenced the short stories in it, because like, for example, like she herself, she, you know, after her brother died, he died when she was like 28, and she took his like daughter in to care for her, and she didn't get, and it wasn't until like when she was like 35 or something that she got married, and she died like a few years later from like the flu or something like that. and and you know, so this is a life of somebody who was very like, you know, if we remove all the accolades that we give Đoàn Thị Điểm right now, her background, everything, she was not special, but the life that she had, the independence that she had, and all of that, like, and all of that is also exemplified in her, you know, in her short stories. It shows you a side to Vietnamese society and to the way that women were treated at the time that we wouldn't have guessed, you know. And even like it's not just Đoàn Thị Điểm, but also the background, like the situation that she's in. For example, she got a very supportive brother, and in every single commentary to her short story, her brother was like, "Oh yeah, see, in this story, we see that women aren't actually like submissive as Confucianism says. This and that, this and that." Like she has such a big support like system in her family, and I think that's we see that reflected in Tale of Kiều as well. You know, when Kiều wants a lot of things.
Yeah, your familiar environment.
Yeah, and her family says, "Yeah, sure, we'll let you have it." And yeah, that's my tangent. That's my addendum about Đoàn Thị Điểm and like society at the time, and the way that family, like depending on how conservative your family is,
Yeah,
you
sure.
really, yeah, you can really like go far.
My follow-up would just be, do you think there is a class divide between how this agency or how women are treated express itself? So, for example, talking about, say, folk stories, we do see a lot of strong women who, you know, sort of run the household, essentially, not being submissive at all. If you're looking at slightly more middle class, upper middle class women, for example, Kiều, from a rich family, essentially upper middle class, or Đoàn Thị Điểm, a woman born from aristocracy, they have different ways to express this agency. So yeah, for the Vietnamese society back then, did you think women in different classes express the agency differently, or do they get to express the agency depending on what class they're from? Sorry, it's a bit convoluted. Yeah.
I would like to correct that. Đoàn Thị Điểm was from a rural background, from Hưng Yên. Yeah, like her family was like farmers, so, and physicians. So it's not necessarily aristocracy, but we could also deep dive into that class divide as well. Yeah. Anyway, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they can differently be autonomous or having agency, but it is not so much, and not exclusively from differences of classes. It will be differences from many other factors. For example, my grandmother, I have two grandmothers, paternal and maternal. And my grandmother on my father's side was from a very, very poor family in the countryside, a very remote village. And her brother, they were just two. And her brother could go to school because he was a boy, and she couldn't because she was a girl, and because the family was very poor. But her brother was not so much studious, and she would like to go to school, would like to know how to read and so on. And she tried to do it three times. First time with her brother, her brother refused. Her brother said no, because you are a girl. What is the girl doesn't need to read or to write, but she tried to learn from a cousin of hers. First time she didn't succeed. Second time, when she had a lot of children and her children went to school, so she learned by listening in doing other things by listening to her children. She know many things, but she was not capable to read by herself. And the third time, it was with me, her first grandchild. And it was this time that she could really read. And after that, she read many, many, many books. So for me, it was an example. For me, she remained my greatest teacher in my life because of this volunteer, this desire, strong desire to reach knowledge. And it is a way to be autonomous even in an environment who was not so favorable. And just to say that depends on the environment, depends on many, many factors, and depend on the person himself or herself. I think it is like that. I agree that it was very different, but it is not simply a difference of classes.
Yeah. And to recontextualize this, your grandma, when was she born?
In Bati. Bati is a very remote village of Bến Tre.
Oh, right. But when? Like what year?
Yeah. We don't know exactly, but it was something like at the beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah.
19 or 1901 or 19 something.
Yeah. So yeah, my grandma was born in 1910, and she was born into
same generation. Yeah.
It was from the petite bourgeoisie of Hanoi and all that, but she had like a similar experience. And yeah, so like I see a lot of like similarities here. Like it's not necessarily a difference of class. Like yeah, for example, like, I think that class does play a part. Like if you were born into like a very upper middle class aristocratic family who really follows
Confucian. This is one. But if it is a middle class, it is not so.
Because
for example, my grandmother, my mother's side, she was from a family in the countryside also, in Bến Tre also, but much less poor, much less poor. But she didn't want to learn, so she didn't know how. She was completely illiterate, but just even though her husband was a teacher, even though all of her children went to school and so on, and she didn't know anything because she was not interested in just that.
Yeah. And like I think that, for example, like I could talk about like I remember I have families who are like, I know people who also have families from like upper middle class, just upper middle with each other. And some of them really like to study, some of them really like money, and some of them really like the French, and some of them really like Catholicism. And some of them, it's class itself, it's still too broad.
Yeah.
So that's my point.
One of many factors, but not exclusively. Yeah.
Thank you both very much.
Yeah. I think because it's getting quite late in Vietnam, so I don't want to hold you for too long. If there's any last questions, this is the time to ask them. Otherwise, this has been an honor. Honestly, thank you so much for your time. Actually, if you're interested to hear more about, Vietnamese history and especially women in Vietnamese history, Dr. Bùi Trân Phượng has a lot of writings on this. I think she did a chair at the Collège de France. I'm just linking it down there so you can read more about, her symposium and her works. And she has a book as well, if any of you can read French. And Nguyễn Bình, you can hear them talk more about Kiều on this tour that we're doing. But what we can gather is there's a lot to talk about Kiều. There's so many aspects. So thank you again. Dr. Bùi. Thank you, Ming. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for all the technical difficulties, but yes. Please. There you go. If you got your copy, if you haven't gotten your copy, it's all around. And this talk will be online as well, available for review afterwards. So I'll keep you all posted on that if you want to go back to it. But again, thank you so much, everyone.
So much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
It's been a
you.
pleasure.
All right.
Bye
Good
bye.
night. Cô ngủ ngon cô nhé.
Cảm ơn cô ạ.
Dạ.
Cảm ơn.
Cô nè.
Dạ, cảm ơn em.